Okay, we are back with Militia Man. I have to get warmed up to get back into this. It's been a while since I've done this, so I have to kind of familiarize myself with the characters, what they look like, their anatomy. It's pretty difficult doing these stories because you have to draw the same characters from different angles and make sure that it's consistent and that they look like the same person over and over. And I try to give them unique faces and sort of hairstyles and things so that you can look at someone and know that's that guy or that's that girl or what have you. But since it's been a while that I've done this book, I'm a bit unfamiliar with that. I sort of kind of have to go back and remind myself. I'm just kind of looking through some of the pages. It's funny how this story, I have this weird ability with like prophecy with my comics. When I first started out years ago, I was doing things that I thought, this is so crazy, it'll never happen, and then it happened. And when I started this, it starts the story off with this sort of satellite laser, and now everybody knows about satellite lasers. Now, it's not that I prophesized it; it's just that I researched this stuff, and it's considered kind of conspiracy theory or fringe, and then something terrible happens, and suddenly everybody knows about it. So I'm a little bit ahead of the curve on those things, but it's not like I have some magic power. It's just that I, go down a lot of rabbit holes to figure these things out. So it is what it is. There you go. The most hackneyed term in the world. It is what it is. The most common cope. It is what it is. Anyway. Sometimes when you're in between projects and you're kind of trying to figure out where you want to go, it's good to just kind of focus on something you've got in development, like this, for example. I'll make sure that you guys are getting a decent view of the page. I've got some other scripts that are in development, but I'm not sure about the publishing opportunities with them. So until I know, I'm gonna just kind of keep moving on. That was always the plan with this. I knew that there was going to be a variety of opportunities for publishing, etc. People, they say, hey, I got an opportunity and let's do this thing, and then it doesn't work out. Yeah. And so through the ups and downs of freelance, you kind of want to have one thing that's always there for you, that's steady, that you can keep doing. And not my, I don't know, just gonna keep cranking along here. And of course the commercial comes on. So I have to stop and turn that stupid shit off. It's always irritating. Hold on. Well, we've got somebody here. We've got a visitor who's, let's see if I can look in the chat. See if you want to say hello. I don't really see anything, any chats. But yeah, say hi if you're here. It's just a Sunday night chill stream with a little ambient techno in the background. Big techno guy over here. It's getting to be time to get new pens. Everything's drying out. It's irritating. Especially when you're trying to do a show. Have a flow, you know? Anyway. I guess that'll have to do for now. Just got to check to see. Oh. Okay. I could just get one music piece on that doesn't have commercials. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna have to find something. Maybe I'll just do my usual Baroque guitar. Yeah. Come on. Okay. There we go. All right. And we're back. Maybe I won't do the architecture stuff. That's kind of boring. Well, I always feel like you should do the architecture first and then the anatomy, the people, what have you. Sort of like eat your vegetables first kind of thing before you have your dessert. So if somebody is watching, please say hi and know who's here. Top chat. Okay. This one's a little dry. These sometimes the dry brushes are nice though. They I don't know, they get a certain texture that is brushy. That's nice, you know. But I'm looking for a little more graphic line. Well, here's a classical piece for you. And commercial break. So here I go. We're good. I guess I can't get around these damn things. It's just a part of life. How do I escape it? Let's see if anybody's here. All messages are visible, so yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, Franklin's here. Hi, buddy. Promethean Healing. Good to see you. Yeah, it's just chilling, chilling like a villain. Because, all white people are bad. So, what's new with you guys? You surviving the end of the world? Let's see what's shaking here. Promethean Healing says I'm trying to find a better occupation. And ideally a few sources of income. Interesting that you should bring that up, my man, because that's what I've been doing. Um, so I've been doing a lot of research on side gigs. It's not possible to really. Well, my bills just went way up recently with certain life events going on, and the economy is going to be crashing very soon. Um, we're in a kind of a financial survival mode now, and I mean, forget about just wanting to make more money or whatever. But it from what I am looking at, I'm seeing a lot of good opportunities out there. Um, a lot of AI generated businesses, side gigs. There's stuff you can do that's just like, you know, work at home type of stuff. And then there's, Bitcoin trading, stock trading. That's obviously got some risk to it. Um, but the thing is, with the technology that's available and the groups that are out there doing it together, it's not as risky as if you were on your own. What else? In my research, I'm finding that you get like a million of those videos that are like, if you've got a phone and a laptop, it's so easy. You can make your first 10,000 in a week, and da, 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 a lot of these pie in the sky kind of offers. Um, but if you kind of have to go through the weeds and sort of sift through there and see what you can find, and you will eventually come across some good deals. Commercials are getting me again. Hold on. Da, 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 I don't want you to hear the commercial because I'm not getting paid by T-Mobile. So screw that. Tell you what, screw the music. I'm tired of being interrupted by commercials. I'll talk more about my research on side gigs. There's a lot of them out there, but like I say, there's a huge amount of kind of sifting through the garbage heap of advertisements of people saying, get rich quick, yada yada. Um, the other side of it too is that, how do I put this? You get what you pay for as well. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm at a place where I'm ready to invest some money in setting up an online business or having it set up, and then kind of, I'll be trained in how to run it, but then I'll also have kind of like, whatever the assistance of like the team that set it up, what have you. Um, Shopping online like Shopify, Amazon, these are pretty big, pretty big things in a sort of like, side gig world, if you will. Um, there's always going to be people shopping online, and there's probably going to be even more in the coming days, with the collapse pending, or impending. Um, People are going to be kind of, well, there's already so many people that are just living, in that way, where they just shop online and they get so much online. People in the cities do it much more, so it's just a thing. I think also the younger generations do it a lot more as well. Um, so yeah, it's a deal. The bottom line with a lot of these businesses is understanding the marketing. That's kind of the hidden variable. It's the thing that you've got to get answered. You have to know for sure. Like, it's like when I created my book, for example, the publisher was like, the books don't sell themselves. You got to have some kind of marketing, and that's a thing. So keep that in mind. Getting some kind of AI software that can do the marketing for you is optimal. Um, I don't know. I'm still researching those things, so I don't have answers for you per se. Um, all I can say is there's just a ton of stuff out there. If you really start looking and you're sincere about it, you can find stuff. It For me, it gets demoralizing seeing all these like people who want to be like Instagram celebrities, like some of them are very sincere, just average people, and then others are like, look at my big car, I'm driving around Miami, and I'm like, ugh, that shit turns me off. But um, yeah, and then you got a lot of the sort of the stay-at-home moms that are working it, and doing what they got to do. Um, so in a sense, it's kind of like, well, what's the brand you want to go for in terms of like who do you want to who do you want to learn from? What do you want to model? Um, the thing of it though is that um, products and services and all of this is measurable. So whoever you're going with or whatever system you're going with, you have to be able to understand the analytics of the sales, and that's an important feature of that whole thing. Um, what else can I say? So, and then so what can I say? There's a kind of trade your hours for dollars, you know, part-time gigs that you can do at home. Um, the the thing the thing I think that is like the wiser choice is finding some kind of automated business that sort of runs while you sleep, so to speak. That you can, while you're at your job, your other business is running itself. And that would require, like I say, some kind of automation software. Um, there's one of the things I was looking into was a program for doing online courses. Um, Apparently, that's a big thing. People, they need to up their skills in various fields. If you have any, expertise or knowledge in a given field, you can create online courses. That's kind of a cool thing. Um, it's just crazy how AI is just exploding. It's just taking off with all of that stuff. So whenever you're doing a search for this kind of work, make sure you add AI into the search so that you can see what's out there. What else can I tell you? Oh, also, let's say if you're on, I don't know, I don't know where you're searching this. I search it mostly on Instagram. You can, how do I say, you can kind of like follow different accounts, and they give you advice on like, oh, hey, I found out a cool side gig today. Or what's even better is that they will have like a sequence of things that you can do. Like go to this site, create this, you know, like for example, you could do a T-shirt company where AI does the artwork. You import it onto shirts, cups, pillows, what have you, and then pop it up on a store, and then get some kind of marketing automation going, and then you know you got a business right there. So these things will take time. There's setups. There's stuff you got to do. But I just feel very much like you can't survive or you can't get ahead in today's world without a side gig, and especially if you're divorced or single. Um, it's really, how do I say, like, we used to live in a time when you had two incomes, and the two incomes together, you could buy a house and nice cars and have a nice life. Especially if you've got kids and shit, then it suddenly be not in shit. I don't mean to say that way, but like it's harder when you're alone and you're taking care of your kids. Blah blah blah. You get the picture. There's always reasons to be making more money. Um, Something neat that I recently found on Gab is they have a something called an alternative economy. I think is that what it is? Not alternative. When you have like a society next to a society, what's that called? A something economy. A fuck, I can't remember the word, but anyway, it's they're setting it up in such a way where people who are patriots and understand like the way the world works and all the bullshit that the system puts you through, that a parallel society or a parallel economy, sorry, that this is a kind of way to kind of get around that. So I don't have like, once I get a sort of a side gig little business going, if I'm not looking at like say an LLC or something, but rather sole proprietorship, that kind of thing. Then I might sign up, and or when I say sign up, I mean you're just registering. You're just putting your business on the directory. So that's good because that means patriots and the like can support each other, that they can buy from each other. And this is the way we should be operating. You know, so keep an eye out for that. It's a good thing. As the system collapses and we are not being looked after, we got to look after each other. Let's see if you guys have any comments to that. Parallel, yes, parallel economy. I hate it when I can't, I like blank out. And part of it is I'm sort of concentrating on my drawing, but what do we got here? A lot of comments. I don't care for the plastic people. Yeah, no doubt. Turn better. Unfortunately, I don't have expertise in anything. Funny enough, I like health topics. Parallel, Gab, and X both have a wide variety of good businesses. I've used a few from both. Okay. What businesses have you used on X or Twitter? That I would be interested in knowing. Um, I have to say, I've thought about doing whatever it is to get money from X, from posts on X, and turning it into more of a kind of a platform where I'm, engaging the audience and doing the influencer thing. Uh, I'm seeing people making pretty decent money from it. There's definitely a downside to that because, like any market, whatever the popular thing is, the market gets flooded with that. And it's, if you're, especially if you're into political analysis and this kind of influence, you're, how do I say, these people, they're compelled to just constantly throw shit out there, and they have to kind of, every single topic that pops up in the news, they have to have a reaction to. And it's, to me, cheesy, tedious, and like it's not really contributing to anything in any kind of real way. I'm always looking for angles. Like I post a lot of polls, about just trying to gauge audience opinions on various things. Um, I to do some research for a script that I'm working on. I put out some polls on like what sort of genres are good for this type of story, but also other things too, like I suggested that our movement have like daily or weekly prayer sessions, to come together in a kind of spiritual or religious fashion to, um, harness that power towards helping us through the crisis that we're facing of white genocide. Um, and people were they responded really nicely to that, actually. I was impressed. Of course, people were saying, does it have to be Christian or da da da? I'm like, no, and it's not, it's something I feel like actually I could lead. And by lead, I just mean like, set up some kind of I'm not like the priest guru. I don't mean it like that kind of leading. But you get the idea. I feel like, yeah, I feel like that actually could be a really nice thing on also a cultural level. Um, we're we're in it now. We are in it now, and our society, our leaders, the system has failed us, and we're on our own. So having a kind of a spiritual bond, I think, would be extremely healthy and powerful. You know, so um, that's a I think that's a worthy thing to try. Worthy effort. Um, it's funny when like you're so smart, but you can't think of silly little simple words. I don't know. Maybe I'm having a senior moment or something. I'm deteriorating. Anyway, it's been interesting to see all the different takes on what's going on out there. Um, I'm gonna jump up and see if you have any reactions, responses. I've recently bought beef organ supplement from X. I was getting shipments of beef every month from a farmer up north. Oh, very cool. Um, yeah, I'm all about, I get a lot of supplements. I'm into, various kind of health supplements. I love the growth of our white positive artists and art networks. I used a few. Yeah, I would say right now that Jayla Dark is the premier person out there leading in terms of like her art group is just doing really well. I've had a few on my show. I'm looking to do more. I've been just trying to get my own shit kind of squared off. A lot going on in my life, but it's all kind of coming down and settling down, if you will. Um, da, da, da. So we'll see. But yeah, a lot going on. Nice and vague. Okay. Tonight I was watching Tubi. Tubi is like a free TV on the internet. You can watch movies and stuff. When you want to relax a bit. And I was watching a documentary on uh, Salvador Dali. Um, there's aspects of him that I enjoy or am inspired by, but there's a lot about modern artists that I'm finding like really really tedious and just I don't know. I don't have like I don't know what the word is. Like I don't believe in it anymore, so to speak, or I'm not impressed by it anymore. I think when you're a college kid in the arts and you go to college and I'm going to be an artist and your professors tell you this and that and they present these people as if they're heroes. And then as you become a legitimate artist, you grow up and you learn what art really is. You start to see the art industry of it, and how. you know, there's various influences and things. Um, Dali is very, very unique. I wouldn't say that he's art industry per se. You know, his wife was very much. She, in a sense, made him in terms of like, you know, she was a shrewd businesswoman kind of thing, and she saw his genius and knew that she could make a lot of money from it. But I know that she genuinely loved him as well, and you know, there was a real uh, powerful relationship there. Um, but he was in his own. He's a category of his own. Really, there's no comparing him to anybody. I guess what is interesting about him is how at a time when you had Picasso's and Paul Klee and Modigliani and all these artists that were like deconstructing the image, um, Dali was maintaining tradition in the sense that he could draw or rather paint in these highly, highly classical, realistic ways. You know, of course, he was very imaginative with it, but the guy had mad skill. You know, like real pro traditional skills in painting, highly realistic. And people don't understand that he also designed architecture and he did sculpture, interior designs, all kinds of this guy. He was a madman, you know. I mean, in many ways. But I think that he lived like entirely in a mythopoetic reality of his own making. Um, the way that he just talks is so strange. Um, but it's so like he knows what he means. I don't know, that sounds odd, but like it's um, he's very, very plugged in to the principles of life and love and you know all these things that are meaningful to him, you know. So that I think is interesting and impressive in its own right, that like he's so much his own person. But for a lot of us it's odd though, because we can't plug into his sort of wavelength, you know. And that's kind of the problem with the relationship of artists and the public in general, is that we are not normal by the standards or the definitions of what common people consider normal. They don't get it. They don't get how compelled we are to do the things we do. They don't understand that without doing the things we do, that we'll kind of go mad, and that it's a it's a thing. So, but at the same time, what's the word? Like, there's a certain. I always sort of really feel that like artists are, in some regard, kind of the shamans of a society. That they're emoting the age. That they are kind of taking whatever is going on in the zeitgeist and reprocessing it through their own minds, their own hearts, their own what do I want to say, like iconography or you know, all these kinds of things. Um, so yeah, there you go. Art's very powerful, though. I mean, you know, right now, like in Europe, you could be thrown in jail for making art that was, you know, pro-white, you know, or construed as anti-Semitic. Um, there are, you know, think about people in France that were killed because they criticized Islam through cartoons. You see, this isn't. It's powerful stuff. It's very powerful stuff. Um, it can change the way people think. It can create a kind of um, surrogate experience of reality that transforms you. I always say people know more about Star Wars than they do about real wars, which is a bit of an insult, um, and I mean it to be so because it's very tiresome that in the age of information, ignorance is a choice, and even though like you can tell somebody something about like, okay, this is actually the facts of what happened, they can refuse to believe it, or they are just so brainwashed, or or the number one thing is that people will conform to whatever everybody else is doing. you know I think that is the number one problem with white people and how we got to be in the crisis that we're in, is that we have these very strong kind of I don't know these words. It's the way that we behave in groups. There's certain sociological powers at play that harm us because people don't want to. There was a time when I asked someone near me. I said, if you had to choose between knowing the truth, speaking the truth, and all your friends, what would you choose? And she like very quickly said, all my friends. And I, so like I can't live a lie. I cannot live a lie. And I feel like that's a problem in this world. If you're not living a lie, then how are you surviving? Because everything's fake. The government, the fucking media, you know, this whole like, status thing that we're all chasing after. In the end, no one gets out alive. um, yeah, just musing as usual. All right, let's see what you got to say up here. Oh, we got a good convo going on here. Let's see. I love the kind of architecture you were talking about when you had No White Guilt on. That was a good show. You said it had Imperium. So the World's Fair. Look at 1901 World's Fair. Around that era, there were that to me is that's my vision for the architecture of our future world. If we survive. The Beaux Arts, Federal, and Neoclassical architecture from Old Chicago around the time of Chicago World's Fair. Bingo. See, I should have read ahead. That's beautiful about Dali being plugged into the principles of life and love. Yeah, that was the best part about the documentary, is kind of seeing into his world and within kind of his heart. Where there's a sort of the arc of the story of his life is essentially his love for Gala, which is his wife. She was from Russia. This pretty eccentric woman in her own right. Very intelligent, very sensual, and she's not like really attractive by our standards today or what have you, but she was his muse. And as an artist myself, I can totally identify with, kind of going head over heels for a woman and her being kind of the center of the world. But I also feel that women can seduce men in such a way as to control them through love and sex, and that artists and kind of the true man has to see this and be cautious that we're not being kind of taken down some kind of road where we're not really becoming ourselves. We're not living up to our full potential or living according to our destiny. I don't think that's particularly the case with Dali. I think actually she saved his life because here's a guy that was essentially like kind of a total genius. And in the world where you have to make money and to survive, he never would have made it, but she had the business smarts to, get him to the right dealers. And I mean, the guy owned a castle, he was super successful in his time. And so, like, that's a really, really great kind of, you know, it worked out. I don't know, whatever that is, the story arc there, it worked out really well. So where is my gala? That's what I better get me a mail order Russian wife. That's the no. I'm sorry. Don't get angry, ladies. I'm just joking. And she, she's really, really quite unique. I'll tell you a little something private. Actually, I'm working with a lovely, marvelous, beautiful Russian lady in an online business thing that I'm doing. I don't want to get it like too much into it. It's nothing fancy or you know it's not like a big story to tell there. But like I said, I'm working on what do you call it? Side gigs. So when you hook up with companies and stuff, they train you. You know. Anyway, I think I've said enough about that. But I don't know. Where is it going to be safer to live in the future, Russia or America? I mean, I don't know where you're from, Promethean Healing. I'm assuming you're in America. But what do you think? I mean, it's crazy that it's come to that we would ask that. Like years ago, you wouldn't, uh, you wouldn't even think to ask something like that. Yeah, I don't know that you need to be an expert in something per se to do these online courses because you know take it with a grain of salt, but AI knows everything. You have, and let's say you're interested in health supplements or some kind of well-being topic. You ask AI, A B C D F G, what's this, what's that, and then it plugs you in with the information. You plug it into the software for the course. I mean, I guess people can certainly criticize that as like kind of fake or that it's taking away jobs from people and stuff. But here we are. This is the world we're in now. You know. Um, once in a while you make one wrong move and then you gotta get the old. You got these really nice pens that have like white ink, and I don't know if this one's gonna work. Um, but I also have like I think every comic book artist has to have these kind of white ink bottles and stuff because not really just for if you make a mistake, but you can draw with light. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that's gonna work. I'm probably gonna have to paint that out later. In the end, a lot of the editing, like cleaning up or what have you, goes on in Photoshop at the end of it all. A Hippocratic Oath is here. That is the coolest name, dude. That is such a great name. Hippocratic Oath. I love it. So I like the Baroque, but with better door locks. Lots of curves, even in the interior. Okay, we're talking about architecture here. Oh, let's go back. Wow, you guys are talking a lot. Da da. Chicago, beautiful. Da da. I think a woman should respect her man's judgment to decide what is best as the master of his domain, of course. If he isn't, then she chose badly, or he needs to get good. Yeah, everyone is a work in process or progress, and men and women. So, but yeah, that I think is the key thing. It's just something I'm really focusing a lot with my son is asking him, what is your vision for your future? Who are you? What is your destiny? Hippocratic Oath says, I like the Baroque, but with I just said that. I do too. Lots of expats in Costa Rica. That's interesting because a friend of mine said she wants to move to Costa Rica recently. I found some Swedish brothers that are helping me with installing a power generator on my river. Wow, that's very cool. Um, I'm not sure where the Costa Rica thing fits in, but there you go. I think Russia clearly has many policies that are way more favorable to our well being, but I see great things in America too. I'm in the Midwest, okay. Hippocratic Oath says, I stayed in a beautiful building in Prague. Oh, God, I would love to go to Prague. One bad thing was the giant key they handed me to get in. Somehow their buildings survived the war. That's quite phenomenal, yeah. Um, I plan to be almost nomadic eventually. Yeah, now yeah. So that whole topic of being nomadic, to somehow try to survive the coming collapse, it's tricky. I'm not against it at all. I love the idea of it actually. Um, I just don't think that there's an escape. I don't think that. I mean, you can delay, whatever's coming. I guess you can avoid it, but it's not stopping. And I mean, it could stop. There's things that could happen. There's people who could stop it. I don't know what's stopping them, but that's another topic. Um, it's kind of a funny thing how, like, that like a lot of in America, a lot of people who are sort of, I guess, older boomers, what have you, they there's a sort of a culture of like RVs, and how like they buy these RVs and they travel around the country and they'll live out of it for a couple months. And I have to say that's kind of appealing to me now. Like I'm really more into getting my projects done and I got to get my son through college and just I'm not like looking to go out on the road for half the year. I'm not I'm not quite there, but there's just something about the freedom of it though that I think is kind of enchanting. And I don't have like the travel bug. I'm not that guy exactly. It's just more the idea of being not sort of like locked down to one thing, you know. Um, I don't know. We'll see where that all goes. That's an interesting topic. I just think it'd be. I want to get back to camping. You know, I used to do that a lot when I was in high school. Um, I was in 4-H when I was a kid. We went. We had 4-H camp. My parents rented a cottage every year. You know, I miss that. I think that there's something really wonderful and healthy about that. And so it's kind of like, you know, having an RV of some kind just gives you that ability to go. You know, I don't know anything about it in terms of like, well, you know, where do you park it? How do you upkeep it? You know, how much does it cost? Da 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 da. You know, I'm sure I can look that up, but it does seem like it would be nice. You know, I don't know that it is really something you can do in the winter, though, right? I mean, it seems to me that that's a summer thing. You know. But my aunt and uncle did it every year. They have one of my cousins lives way down south, and every when as soon as the weather got pretty decent, they'd be on the road. And my mom was sort of jealous. You kind of wanted to have that free living experience. You know, it's tough. You can't have everything you want in life. You know, but there it is. Let's see what else you guys are chatting about. Um, what do we got? Nomadic. Okay, so well, I would love how many old world buildings we still have. How? Okay. Promethean Healing says, I mean, being ready to move in say 10 years. I would need to be, if need be. I probably shouldn't have said nomadic. Places can become hostile in just a few years. Yeah. Lots of nomadic surfers by the beach. Yeah. I mean, I'm really at an age where I want to settle down. Like I want to be in one place. I feel like family anymore since they abandoned me over politics and COVID. But your friend network is important. You know. Now, in the case where like I have my son, I have to think very much in terms of like, what does he want to do? Where does he want to go? You know, because it's you know he's all I've got other than of course my friends. But now I think sort of selfishly, I would like him to stay, in the area. But he's a young guy. He's got his whole life ahead of him. What does he want to do? These are pretty big topics. when I was younger and, lived in New York City and then traveled to the Caribbean and traveled in Asia, it's, like those were fun, cool times. And I wouldn't say that I was nomadic, like I wasn't trying to be nomadic. I had, interests and goals that, I went here for this thing because I wanted to learn about this thing or do this other thing. I will say, in my experience, and I'm not saying this is you guys, but I know a lot of younger people in like their 20s and stuff, and there does seem to be a kind of, I don't want to call it a fad, but it's just a thing going on where a lot of them are talking about, like travel, and wherever they are is somehow never good enough, that like they're not stimulated enough, and that they're supposed to be, in California or Costa Rica or Colorado, and that they feel like they're not really edgy or cool if they're not living like that. And like a young lady who I know from like the dance scene, she recently was telling me, "Oh, I want to move to Costa Rica. It's calling me." And having lived, overseas and whatnot, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not trying to rain on her parade or shut her down, but I also realize that like this isn't a joke. Like you don't just like magically move to Costa Rica and suddenly your life is one big, Instagram vacation. Which is kind of how I think they're thinking. That's the impression I'm getting. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's talk this through. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna make a living down there? "Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, it's another country and they speak Spanish. Do you speak Spanish? No. Um, do you know anybody there? I mean, like, what if you get sick or you get hurt? How are you gonna, get the medical attention? I don't know. You see where I'm going with this shit? It's like, come on, like these things are pretty serious, and I'm like, this is Central America, like this is there's like, crazy shit going on down there. It's not this kind of fantasy fun life that you might think. Um, I mean, if you stay on the beaten path, I suppose you'd be fine. Like when you go to Mexico, they always say like just stay at the hotel, do not wander around town, things like that. I have a friend who wandered around town, and he's lucky he didn't get killed. It was he went into some bar somewhere, and it's just so foolish. This whole like these kind of white liberals that think, oh, I can just go to any country and I'll be perfectly fine and safe, and people are all the same, and they're nice, and I'm nice, so they'll be nice to me. That's so crazy. So that guy's lucky he's alive. He managed to like escape being stabbed. Anyway, maybe I'll get away from the darker stuff here. There's a message being held for review. What could it be? That's a review. I don't see what the problem is with that message. Anyway, dang, I passed one of those long characters that cover the comments above. Haha. Anyway, don't worry about it. Forget about it. So, what else is shaking? I don't know. The camera's shaking, I guess. I'm probably going to have to spend more time finding some music that I can put on during the show that is not going to have commercials in it. Um, Maybe put something on the stereo or something. I've got an old stereo here, with cassettes and what do you call them? Records and stuff, and vinyl. See, because I'm a hipster, right? I gotta have the vinyl. Hmm. All right. This page is coming out nicely. Um, well, I just wanted to get some artwork done tonight, and I hadn't done a show in a long time. So I got this going again. I think I'll be doing more art streams shortly. I hope you guys are doing well. It's fun chatting with you. Let's see if there's anything else here. Hippocratic Oath says, I'm a programmer, but I had fiber optic installed on my farm. Nice. Wasn't cheap. I wouldn't come here alone. I only came here because the U.S. went insane. Only Mexico and Costa Rica didn't do the COOF thing. Ah, fascinating. Well, that's the other thing. If you're a coder, you can just work from your computer, so getting around. Um, I can't ever see myself living in Mexico, but that's, I guess, another topic. It's good to see you doing commissions. Thank you. Business having steady business is good to see, not to imply that artwork is steady. Have a good night. Yes, thank you guys for joining me. Appreciate it. Just, I figure, it's an hour and a half already. Gosh. Anyway, God bless you guys. We'll see you again on the streams that are coming up. And have a good night. Adios.